Hey everyone, welcome back. I'm playing some Praxis Nightmare to give you some gameplay. Once again, this deck is current as of January 2018, with Dusk Road being the most recent set. So this hand is not very good. We're going to have to redraw it. It's got 5 power in it, which is just way too much. We're really looking to, only have maybe 3 power in our hand. So we just need more units to play. This hand's quite a bit better. We have got the 1-drop, the Grenadin drone, the Disassembler. We don't have a way to play on 3 mana, but I'm sure we'll draw into one. Looks like we're up against one of our worst matchups, Feln Control. So if this doesn't go very well, it's probably because they're going to have Lightning Storm. So I'll take this as a good opportunity to talk about kind of my thought process in how I want to approach this game. So I want to approach this game against Feln as trying to bait out a Lightning Storm, but to punish him enough that if he doesn't have it. So obviously we didn't really have a choice on our 1-drop, so we just want to play the Grenadin drone. It's generally best to attack with your creatures first before you play a new creature. That way if they want to use a 1-cost removal spell or something, they'll have to use it before they take damage, before they see what else we're playing. So for example, if they had a torch, I know that it's not in his colors, but if I play Disassembler first, he gets to torch the Disassembler. But if I attack first, well then he has to make the choice, well maybe I should torch a drone just to save a point of damage. So we did draw a Rally here as a way to just spend our power this turn, and I think I'm actually going to play it. Since once again we're up against Feln, and maintaining a large board presence against Feln is a little rare due to the omnipresent threat of Lightning Storm. So we're just going to cash it in right there as a 3 power, deal 6 to them. It's essentially like an Obliterate right to the face. So yes, so there we go. We baited out the Lightning Storm. He only got a 2-for-1 out of us. But look how much burn we still have. He took 3 from those Disassembler triggers. I think it's best to play Marisen's Disciple first because it puts more power out. But then next turn we'll get to play our Disassembler, ticking Grenadin, which together represent 5 damage if they both get killed on the same turn. So he's actually really close to, we're really close to killing him off. The nice part is our opponent missed his Sigil in 2 turns in a row. So I think that's going to let us, okay, so he annihilates. I think that's going to help us get real close to a win here. The one scary part is that if he's able to buy enough time with the first Lightning Storm in order to get him, kind of carry him over till when he can cast Black Sky Harbinger, that's when you really start to lose these matches. But he's at 8, but even if he had Lightning Storms right now, he's essentially at 3. And he doesn't even have one right away. He needs to draw a Sigil and a Lightning Storm. And even then, we have the out to draw just Torch or Obliterate, or another ticking Grenadin. So this game was definitely an example of how much reach this deck really has with the Disassemblers, the Grenadins, and the resilience. And also, I think the playing of Rally there right on turn 3 was really was an important step, because it's you kind of got in while you had the chance to get in with it. If I waited another turn, I wouldn't have a chance to get 3 units on the Rally with it. All right, so let's go up another game. Unfortunately, we lost the die roll again. And this hand's not that great. We don't have any 1-cost cards. Well, we have Torch. We don't have a 1-drop unit. And we don't have both colors of our influence. So those are kind of my 2 main criterias for evaluating whether a hand is a redraw. You want a 1-drop and both of your colors. So we'll just redraw that one. So we got the 1-drop. We actually have a pretty decent curve, but we don't have the time influence to cast Nocturnal Creeper. We'll see if that comes back to haunt us. Hopefully not, though, because we've got a good Grenadin curve here. Unfortunately, it looks like we're up against Argenport. So we did draw the time. So the decision point here is, what 2-drop do we want to play? Well, we're going to need a way to punch through this Argenport Instigator. And so by playing Nocturnal Creeper, well, Nocturnal Creeper not only holds his guy at bay, but also can attack profitably into it, because he doesn't want to really trade his 3-power guy, which is holding my 1/1s at bay, with a deadly guy who would then trade off, and then now my 1/1s are free to attack on subsequent turns. So I think all of that kind of points toward Nocturnal Creeper being the better play. Both of these guys being 2 power don't really allow me to punch through this guy at all. Additionally, drawing the extra card from the Nightfall might help me find a torch or something of the like. Alright, so let's see what we drew. Well, we drew a bunch of 1-drops. So we'd really like to find some kind of buff spell, right? We don't really have any payoff right now. We've got a lot of enablers. Like I don't know if I mentioned this before. The deck is kind of divided into 2 halves. You've got enablers, you've got payoffs. Enablers are cards like Grenadin Drone, the Nightfalls, Assembly Line, Sparkcatcher. They kind of build up your board, and then payoffs are ways that you capitalize on the big board that you have. Cards like Disassembler, to an extent, he's kind of a hybrid between both. Rally, Xenan, Obelisk are the payoff cards. Ideally, you want mostly enablers and then a couple payoffs. If you have all payoffs, they don't really do anything. If you have all enablers, you're not really capitalizing on the big board that you're playing. So I think it's still correct to attack in with a Nocturnal Creeper. I would trade this easily for either of his 2 guys, and even if he doesn't trade, well, I just got a couple free points of damage. So to use our power most efficiently, we want to play... I think we want to play Sparkcatcher. Well, I want to keep on Nightfall. I want to keep Nightfall going. So I think it's best to play Sparkcatcher and Gloaming Wisp. Our opponent hasn't cast any removal spells yet, so I don't want to expose the Disassembler to a removal spell before I have to. So that's why I want to play the Sparkcatcher. And I want to keep Nightfall going because I still need to draw answers to his creatures or draw payoff spells like Xenan, Obelisk or Rally. So I want to keep the draw coming with Gloaming Wisp. So what's our opponent got here? Well, he attacked in right away, so he doesn't have, like, say, the lifesteal weapon. Or maybe he does, but he just wanted to play this instead. Alright, so things are getting a little dicey here, but at any point we could just draw Rally and kill him. Since he's running so many units in his deck, I highly doubt that he is playing Harsh Rule or other board wipe type effects, because it would hit his own guys as well. So I think I feel pretty comfortable playing Assembly Line and Grenadin Drone. However, like I mentioned before, you always want to attack first. Force him to make a decision before you give away extra information. Always force your opponent to make decisions before you give away information. But now a Rally is just fatal to him. Obliterate is pretty nice as well. Tavarod? I'm not particularly worried about Tavarod. We'll hold back the Nocturnal Creeper. And actually, now that we have so many more Grenadins and Disassembler, it's very advantageous, I believe, to get in with everybody except the Creeper, who I want to hold back to block the Tavarod. Because now basically every guy, he can only block 2 of them, and we're throwing away 2 guys, and they're still going to get their damage in with Disassembler. So I think we still might need a payoff. I haven't done the full math on all of this. But it might be a little close. As long as he doesn't find Bloodletter, the 3/3 that gives a guy lifesteal this turn, I think we can win this race. Let's see what he finds, though. Or if he doesn't have removal for Disassembler. But he probably does. He's drawn a lot of cards, and he hasn't cast a removal spell yet. So I have to imagine he has at least Annihilate or Slay. Alright, so that's unfortunate. He has double Bloodletter? Alright, well, our only out to win at that point was a Rally. So we've lost the game, since we didn't draw any real payoff spell. But if hypothetically we had a Rally right here, we would attack in with everybody. Let's say he makes the optimal blocks and blocks the Creeper and the Disassembler, and I hit for 3, 6, 9, 12, 15, 18, 21, exactly before the Disassembler triggers. So we could have got there if we had top decked a Rally. So that just goes to show the power of Rally. But unfortunately, the lifesteal that he got from the Bloodletters is going to be too much to overcome. So we'll pack it in. Not bad, though. We did all right. did all right with, given the fact that we had no payoffs, and he had some of the best answers against our deck in the form of Bloodletter. Alright, and man, all 3 times we lose all 3 die rolls. That's unfortunate, because this deck obviously wants to go first a lot. I will keep this hand, though, because it has both colors of our influence. It has 1-drops, it has early stuff to play. Once again, it has a lot of enablers, but no payoffs, which is kind of the trap we fell into last game. We'll see if we can find a rally or Xenan Obelisk or something to draw our way out of it this time. Looks like we might be up against Argenport again. Ooh, but now we found a torch to clear the way. So, you always want to be attacking. Always be attacking. When it makes sense to. Obviously, right here it wouldn't unless we kill off his guy. I think it makes sense to kill off his guy. So we can attack and still use our mana efficiently by playing the Grenadin drone. Now, using a torch there might have been a little sketchy if he does have exactly an Unseen Commando, because that card is even more scary. But I think it's a worthwhile risk. And it looks like we got paid off for it, since our opponent did not have an Unseen Commando, or at least he couldn't cast it that turn, since his banner came into play depleted. So now we have a good play for next turn, in that we're going to play Marisen's Disciple. So I'm not really inclined to play Nocturnal Creeper, since I don't need to draw an extra card for next turn. I have my next turn all planned out. I don't need to draw an extra card, which means I don't want to give my opponent access to an extra card for the Nightfall when I can just play Sparkcatcher. The fact that our opponent is using a spot removal like Slay, 3 cost and a whole card to kill half of a 1-drop, that's one of the real powers of this kind of deck. When you're running so many tokens, is that the opponents can really struggle to... decks that have a lot of spot removal is just not very efficient against you. So we'll get in with all those guys, and now I need to think about, does my opponent have something like Harsh Rule or Devastating Setback in his deck? He's running Tinker Overseer, which generally doesn't, and he's running Diplomatic Seal, which really gives me the impression that he's a more early game focused deck rather than a mid to late game. So I don't think he has Harsh Rule or Diplomatic or Devastating Setback. So I'm going to stick with my original plan and play Marisen's Disciple, and we'll play a 3/3 just for the most power. So some of you might be wondering, well, why don't you take the flyer in case he plays a blocker? Well, if he does play a blocker such as Tavrod, he can still only block one thing. So the marginal difference is, well, now he can block... So before, if I made a flyer, well, he couldn't block the flyer, but he could still block a 2/2, right? But now, so essentially I'm still, between Marisen and his pet, I'm still getting through with exactly one 2/2. This way, well, now Tavrod blocks the 3/3, and I'm still getting through with a 2/2. So there's no net change there. But if he doesn't have a blocker, this is just strictly better, because it deals 1 more damage. That being said, he only has 1 blocker. No fear. We're going to get in there with everybody. Push as much damage as we can. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. He goes down to 7, which is essentially 6, because we're going to Nightfall. There is a reason to play this last Sigil. In case we just draw, since we're drawing 2 cards a turn here, we want to be able to, in some weird scenario, if we draw into, like, say, 3 Sigils plus a Xenan Obelisk in our next 4 draws, we want to be able to cast that and get the extra buff on time. I think that's a more worthwhile investment than bluffing that I might have something for 1 power. But our opponent's at 6. He's essentially at 3 due to the ticking Grenadin. His best bet here would be to have something like Bloodletter, at which point we can still block to trade off, but it would gain him a bunch of life to keep him alive. So he's digging possibly for Bloodletter. He didn't hit anything. I'm still going to trade off because I don't want that guy to live for an extra turn or 2. Yes, we're potentially missing more damage, but I don't think it'll matter because he's still dead to just attacking with everything. This guy is a bit of a problem because he prevents my Entomb triggers. But if he blocks he would probably block Marisen's Disciple, take 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. He needs a removal spell on top of this. So we just, obviously, no fear attack with everybody. Alright, and that's that. So we just barely got there with our last point. He didn't have a way to gain life, but if he did, that could have slipped out of reach. So we just barely got there. We got through as much damage each and every turn that we could by just always attacking. And that's how this deck wins. You just get there right before you're probably about to lose board control. You see we're out of cards in hand. Our opponent had a couple cards. They were hitting their stride. They were going to be able to get to their big late game plays, but we just barely got there beforehand. Alright, so that's going to be it for the gameplay on this deck. I hope you enjoyed it. We went a nice 2-1 despite losing all 3 die rolls. So, thanks for watching. I hope this helped you understand how the Praxis Nightmare deck works a little bit better. I'll bring that up on the screen one more time. You can also watch the deck tech, a previous video deck tech. And if you're interested in more games like this, you can check out my stream, also linked in the description below. This full deck list, along with the Eternal Warcry link, is also in the description below. So thanks for watching, and have a nice day.